Hi everybody, this is Jill again from Tutor Success Academy. And in our last video, we talked about how if you're starting a business or you already have a business, right, and you already have a busy life, you maybe already also have another job, right, if you're tutoring during the day or teaching during the day and wanting to build your tutoring business or doing both, or you already have a busy tutoring business, like a full-time business, or you're raising kids, we have busy lives. And so we talked about how do you find time to work on the business tasks and how do you find time to learn about being a business owner, learn the skills that you need to run a business. So in our last video, we talked about finding time to do those business tasks, the things we need to get done. And so today we are going to talk about how to find time to learn the skills and the mindset and just basically how do you learn how to be a business owner and how do you fit the time in to learn. Okay, so that I love to learn, you guys, and I think as educators most of us are in that boat, but I really love to learn about business, and so this is a really fun thing for me to talk about because it comes pretty easily to me. But that doesn't mean that when I was teaching full-time and building a business and had an hour-long commute and I had 95 students that I didn't struggle with finding time to learn the things I needed to learn, because I knew a lot about education. I knew a lot about my specific field. I didn't know anything about running a business. So that was something I had to learn. And for most of us, we don't go get an additional degree in business. So for most of us small business owners, we learn about business in a different way. So how do you find the time to start to learn what you need to learn, right? And so the first thing I want you to think about is, how do you learn best? So seems pretty obvious, but I think that's something important for you to know. And it might be that if it's something really technical, you learn best one way. And if it's more like principles and things that help you think about how to think like a business owner, maybe it's a different way. But how do you learn the best? So do you learn through audio? Do you learn best through videos? Do you learn through books? Do you learn best in person? And kind of pairing those different things with the different kinds of things you need to learn. And here's what I mean. So when it comes to something like super technical, like when I went to learn about some of the legal things that I wanted to know before I started my business, you guys, I needed to go, and it was like a Saturday workshop that the Small Business Association was hosting at a local college, and I needed to show up in person because I needed to be able to see the presentation, take notes, just like regular kind of class like I was in college, be able to ask the presenter questions. I needed to be fully engaged in an in-person experience because legal things was not anything I really was interested in, other than I needed to have that understanding for my business. So sometimes I need to be in person. But I used to like to read books, okay? And I still do like to read books if I have a very specific purpose. So if I am learning something that I'm like going to put into application like in the next month or two, then a book is good for me because it's almost like I treat it kind of like I'm taking a class, right? But for a lot of areas of business, I prefer audio and I prefer video. Like I prefer the whole online learning experience. Now, my favorite thing to do is to go to a conference, something that's like all day long, because it's almost like by going to a conference, you show up and for the first half hour or so, you're still thinking about your other things that you're doing, but eventually you enter the world of what it is that you're learning, and you've given yourself this time to just focus on you and your business or whatever it is you're trying to learn. But the reality is there are not a lot of conferences out there that might not be easy to get to. You might have to fly to go to them. And so I will say that conferences are not something I get to do, but that I want to do more often as the opportunities arise in the future. So conferences would really be my favorite way to learn because they get you all motivated and excited. Like think about when you go to a teaching conference, right? Same thing for business conferences. They totally light me up. I'm ready to like take my business by storm. I've got all these ideas. It's awesome. I just think that conferences are a little bit hard to find, especially when we're talking about being a small business owner. So even though it's my favorite, and it's probably one of the ways I learn best, it's not a way that's really practical for me at this point in my life, and probably for a lot of you too. So for me, I like audio and videos because the online learning, I can slip it into any part, like any time in my schedule. And it works to do that way, right? I don't have to always be somewhere live. I can catch it when I can catch it. So when you think about how you learn best, I also want you to think about two different kinds of learning that we kind of have to embrace and prepare ourselves for when it comes to learning about running a business. You've got your active learning and you've got your passive learning. Now, when it comes to active learning, that is when you are specifically learning something that you want to like put into practice soon. So let's say for Tutor Success Academy, right? There's a lot of skills that I have to learn to understand how to run an online business, okay? And so some of those are just kind of long-term. I can learn them when I need to learn them, but sometimes they are more a timely skill, okay? That's more active learning, where I'm like learning to put it into practice like pretty soon, immediately. That might be if you're taking Tutor Success Academy because you want to start a tutoring business this summer, right? Then your learning is going to be more active because you are trying to learn how do you make promotional materials, how do you set up an income plan, how do you set up your policies, and like you're learning to put it into action right now. So active learning is one kind of learning, and you might have to figure out how do you do that best. The other kind of learning that I don't want you to dismiss or not think about is passive learning. So as a business owner, right, we were often not taught any of the skills that we need to run a business. Although educators are excellent at running businesses because we already have so many of those skill sets from running a classroom, from creating learning experiences for our students. We already have tons of attributes and skills and characteristics that make us shine as business owners. But we might not have the mindset of thinking of ourselves like a business owner. We definitely might not have the skill set or the knowledge because we just haven't had the opportunity to have it yet. And so passive learning opportunities, I think, are such a great way to slip that business learning into the nooks and crannies of your life. And it will still give you so much bang for your buck when you do that. And so here's what I mean by like passive learning. So I love listening to business podcasts. I love listening to like audio or video trainings that talk about different aspects of business. And even though audio is not necessarily my best way of learning like overall, I have found that I rely on it more and more because I can do it while I'm doing other things and I still get so much out of it. So I like to look for where are my opportunities that I can actually do some of that passive learning while I'm doing other things. And that's why audio is great for me. So whether it's a training that also has an audio component or a Facebook Live or a Facebook video or a training video or podcasts, I listen to so many podcasts all the time. And I also listen to audiobooks. So I've listened to audiobooks about business, about money, about things like that. Because again, sometimes it's hard for me to find the time to sit and actually focus on a book, right? I might get distracted to do other things. But when it comes to audio, I can do that while I'm driving to work every single day. I can listen to a new chapter on an audiobook. I can listen to one episode of a podcast. I can listen to one Facebook Live, as long as I'm not watching it, just like listening to it through the speakers, right? So I can listen to it while I'm driving. I can listen while I'm walking my dog. And then you guys, here is my little secret tip for how I slip in my learning every single day. You guys, I bring my iPad into the bathroom while I'm taking a shower. And guess what? When I'm taking a shower, I'm just washing my hair. I'm just doing whatever, right? It's not like there's a lot of things taking my attention. So when I'm taking a shower, I go in, I bring my iPad, I find a podcast, I find something I can listen to learn. And you guys, yes, I go back and I listen to ones I've listened to before. I listen to lots of things that I listened to before because I need to listen to them a couple different times before the ideas kick in. And so do not dismiss passive learning. So any place that you can find a little bit of learning that you can slip in while you're doing something else, because this isn't like that active learning where you're like taking notes and trying to figure out, oh, how do I do this specific thing? It's more learning that will help you just to become a better business owner in general, or it will give you some ideas so that you go, you know what? Okay, I need to go sit down later when I do have time to focus and I'm not driving the car. And I'm now motivated and I have just enough information to make me dangerous. And I can go and I can get started on a project or something that I want to work on in my business. And so I want you to think about opportunities for active learning, right? And then like find those opportunities and like really go ahead and give yourself time to dive in. But also I want you to look for those little windows of time in your schedule where you could be doing passive learning, because right now the active learning part, maybe you can only dedicate an hour a week to it, or maybe even less, and that's okay. Look for some opportunities for some passive learning that you can do through audio, video, talking with another friend, talking with friends that own businesses and having business conversations. And then my final tip for finding time to learn is to keep a notebook nearby. And here's why. The biggest challenge with the whole listening to the iPad while I'm taking a shower is that there's nowhere to write ideas. But the thing is, when I'm doing this passive learning, I almost always get ideas that I can use in my own business. And not only are they great ideas, but I'm like really motivated. Like it's exciting to think about this thing I can try in my own business, something that could work for me. And so if you're not in the shower or driving, but even if you're driving, hey, have a little notebook so that once you pull into the parking lot, you can jot a few ideas down. Have a notebook nearby, because a lot of times you're just going to get these golden nuggets, these like flashes of inspiration of how you can take what you're learning and how it applies to you building your tutoring business. And so if you can jot that down before that idea slips, then later that can become something that you decide to work on in your business, and it can be really exciting. So when it comes time to finding time in your schedule to learn, okay, look for just a place where you can dedicate some time to do active learning if that's what you need, right? If you have like a timeline or a project you need to work on, you need to learn. But if not, go ahead and just find opportunities for passive learning, okay? Keep yourself open to opportunities of podcasts and audio, audiobooks, audio trainings, Facebook videos, anything that you can do that you can listen to while you're doing other things. I know that we say not to multitask, but I have learned so much from listening to podcasts and doing things like that while I'm doing something else that doesn't take a lot of my attention. It is the way that I fit learning into almost every single day. Almost every single day, I'm able to find a little bit of time to learn about something related to business, and it's like a big snowball. It all builds until I realize, wow, I have like a wealth of knowledge that is kind of going on up here, and it's because I continue to put myself in these learning situations just by making use of the little pockets of time I have in my life where I could be learning while I'm driving, learning while I'm taking a shower. I don't do the learning while I'm walking my dogs too much, because I like to give them my total attention while we're walking, taking walks and chasing bugs and bunnies and things like that. But I do look for those opportunities. So if you have any little pearls of wisdom that you want to share with us, little places where you have found that it makes it a little bit easier to learn, and that could be that every morning for like 20 minutes while you're drinking your coffee and just getting started the day, maybe you're reading a book about something related to business, right? Or it could be a motivational book or an inspirational book. It could be, anything that you could do to kind of get your day started in a really good way. That could be your little window of time. So share in the comments below if you have any tips that you want to share with other people, because what works for me might not work for you, but what works for you might work for somebody else. So let's share those ideas, and let's make sure that we keep learning just the way that we keep learning about education. We want to build our skill set as business owners. All right, you guys, thanks so much for joining us, and I can't wait to hear what works for you in finding time to learn how to run a business. Okay, bye.